Right, welcome everyone to the F1 preview show for Japan, where I give you the honest takes, the controversial takes, but always the truthful takes on what we're seeing in F1 and what we should expect to see for the next race. Make sure to put your comments down below if you agree or disagree with anything. Going to start with Aston Martin and Lance Stroll, because I think Lance Stroll has been anonymous this season. Like, anonymous is the word I'd use. Yes, the Aston Martin is terrible. Yes, the car seems to like vibrate its drivers to death. But Fernando Alonso is still very visible. He's still very audible. Down the straight of China, he's doing his theatre, taking his hands off the wheel, show how bad it is, but he's still out there doing laps. I want to see, in Japan, Lance Stroll do as many laps as Fernando Alonso. Because otherwise, we've got to start asking questions about Lance Stroll, like, is he a really fair weather driver? He actually just doesn't want to put himself through this, and maybe he can get away with it because he's the owner's son, which is kind of crazy. So Lance has to step it up in Japan, has to basically do the same amount of laps as Fernando Alonso. And for Fernando Alonso, I feel like he needs to try and finish a race. If he can finish a race, that almost feels like a superhuman effort at this point. This is Honda we're talking about. In Suzuka, in Japan, they're going to be there. It's going to be national embarrassment if neither of the Aston Martins can finish the race. I want to see Fernando Alonso try and finish that race. He obviously has a long history with Honda and GP2 engines, but if he can finish it, superhuman. I want to see Lance Stroll try and match him. Moving up now to the Cadillacs, I feel like Valtteri Bottas needs to really do a much better job in Japan. He needs to be there or thereabouts for Sergio Perez. At the moment, it looks like Sergio Perez is like really trying to grind through on this Cadillac. And Valtteri Bottas is like way off Sergio Perez. It makes no sense, really. Maybe Bottas kind of checked out a bit more of his career. He went full meme. Maybe Sergio Perez just didn't do that and he's kind of a bit more switched on. But the Cadillac is 4 seconds off the pace. At some point, they're going to need to try and bring that gap closer. But all the other teams are going to be progressing as well. I really think it's going to be a bad season for Cadillac this. And I wonder if Cadillac are going to get pigeonholed, typecast, stereotyped as like the meme team, as like the terrible team in Formula 1. And it might be hard for them to shake that. Remember, Haas never had that. Haas, because they basically were like the American Ferrari, they took as many parts as possible, even more, some people say. They didn't have this problem. Whereas Cadillac, because they really want to do it as like a GM entry, they're taking the Ferrari engine reluctantly, but they want to make their own one. They're actually in a position where they're like so bad. They're being saved by how bad Aston Martin are. If we go to Williams, I feel like in Japan, we need to see the Williams actually part of the midfield. Like, if Williams are going to be off the midfield, massive questions have to be asked of James Vowles, because he promised so much. He talked a massive talk, and I know so many Williams fans believed him. This is the thing. And you have to look at this objectively. When you look at Williams' performance over the last few seasons, they've had some good moments, but over the last decade, by and large, they've been terrible. They've been really, really, really bad. So maybe the last couple of seasons were like a bit of a reversion from that, and maybe this is actually going back to the norm. I don't know, but they need to do something different at Williams. I want to see something in Suzuka. I don't think they keep getting away with this. I think James Vowles' position must be under threat, because that team is owned by like private equity. They're not going to hang around and wait to see results improve. They're going to want to do it quickly. Going to Audi now, simple from Audi. We want to see both cars finish a race. That's it. Both cars finishing the race at Audi. That'll be a fantastic result for Audi. Audi is starting the season really strong, I think. They've been lucky that they've had one driver finish each of the races, because if they'd had DNFs in both races, then it'd be a completely different conversation. But getting one driver through in each is fantastic for Audi, so keep doing that. And Alpine, people are saying that because Alpine had such a poor engine over the last couple of years with that Renault engine, actually they had to compensate on the chassis, they had to compensate on the aero, and those people were doing a really good job. So now they've bashed in the Mercedes engine in that Alpine. Actually, the chassis and the aero can really shine, and we're seeing someone like Pierre Gasly seems to have kind of the bit between his teeth, and he wants to prove people wrong here. Pierre Gasly is in a much better place right now than if he's in the Williams, which is kind of interesting to think about. And Franco Colapinto seems to be a driver that maybe, he has character, he has personality, maybe he can do some interesting things in that Alpine as well. We will see. Going now to the Racing Bulls, I feel like Liam Lawson needs to beat Arvin Lindblad in this race. Liam Lawson, there may be something happening at Red Bull and positions open. And Liam Lawson would be in perfect contention for that, because he's driven the Red Bull, he's driven the Racing Bulls, he's kind of established in the team, they trust him enough, they brought him back to the Racing Bulls. But at the moment, I don't think, if you were choosing someone to go up to the Red Bulls for next season, I don't think you would choose Liam Lawson over Arvid Lindblad. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I feel like Lawson needs to start getting the better of Lindblad consistently, maybe throughout the sessions as well, and throughout qualifying. Now Lindblad, Just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Lindblad can afford to make mistakes like he did in Shanghai and China. He can afford to gamble things. He's a rookie, so he's got some rookie allowance there. So Lindblad, just keep doing what you're doing. Doesn't matter with Lindblad if he makes some mistakes in Japan. He's just got to keep trying to experiment. But I think the pressure's a little bit on Lawson. Going now to the Red Bulls, I just wonder. Max Verstappen seems to have basically, not say taking his eye off the ball, but he's doing extracurricular activities this year. He's off at the Nordschleife doing NLS. He's just created his own sim racing team as well. He's certainly not all in on Red Bull. And what's really interesting is that when people saw that Lewis Hamilton in previous years was doing fashion and doing kind of like doing his passionate things, people would criticize Lewis Hamilton a lot for that. Those same people are not criticizing Max Verstappen. Lando Norris had his other projects. People would criticize it. Those same people not criticizing Max Verstappen. So maybe Max Verstappen getting away with it a little bit. And I just wonder if he's looking at the Red Bull and thinking, this is not where I want to be. It's going to be a long slog. I want to be in a Mercedes engine car. That's where I need to be for the next 5 years. And I wonder if he will actually move to Mercedes next year. And that's why I say there could be a gap in that Red Bull team for one of the drivers to be promoted. Or sensationally, maybe they pick someone like Carlos Sainz Jr. from the Williams. So very interesting things can happen at Red Bull. Isaac Hadjar as well. Good start to the season. Kind of just needs to finish these races. Kind of has an opportunity here to really dig deep. Maybe if Max Verstappen is not spending as much time at the factory, maybe Isaac Hadjar can really basically live in Milton Keynes, really understand the car. And if he can start outperforming Max Verstappen, that's going to be absolutely crazy, because I don't think Max Verstappen is going to be able to exist in a team where he's getting beaten by his teammate. Moving now to the Haas's. I feel for Esteban Ocon here. If he wants to keep his seat for next season, he needs to start having some performances where he's getting right up there at the top of the midfield. At the moment, he's kind of half a step behind Oliver Bearman. So big moment for Ocon here if he wants to have like a prolonged career in Formula 1. Otherwise, it could be the end of the road, because Haas are looking like a pretty handy feeder team for Ferrari. Because Bearman is going to be right ready to step into the Ferrari, so maybe the next Ferrari junior drivers are going to go in the Haas, so we will see. So I think like Ocon needs to step it up in Japan. Bearman just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Bearman's having a fantastic season. Bearman's going to reach the point where he's going to be putting pressure on the Ferrari drivers to perform, because if either one of them start failing, then Ferrari are going to be tempted to just put Bearman in. He's a star in the future. He's not an established star like Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc, obviously, but he's a star of the future. Moving to McLaren now, they just need to get both cars to start the race, obviously, and they need to basically get the laps in. They're really missing laps, and they need to do more laps because they need to understand the Mercedes engine more. They need to be tuning their software and everything on the regen to understand that engine and the combination with the battery and the gearbox and all this kind of stuff to get that, and they need to get that lap experience. So I would say for McLaren, get that laps in. That's the most important thing. Almost position doesn't matter in Japan, I would say. They're going to have a long gap after that to work on the car. So absolute priority has to be starting and finishing the race. That means no stupid mistakes. I don't want to see stupid mistakes from these drivers. I don't want to see them risking it like Oscar Piastri risked it on the way to the grid in Melbourne or in the installation laps. Ferrari here. Ferrari, again, I think just need to get like a third and a fourth. Ferrari get a third and a fourth in Japan, then they're kind of like doing the best they can. They're going to go into this new like development break because we've had the Middle Eastern races cancelled, and maybe they can push on there. So nothing special needed from Ferrari. If they qualify third and fourth, then we assume that they're going to start well again with a smaller turbo, maybe get up there, maybe have some battles at being in the Mercedes. But I'm fully expecting the Mercedes to go into the distance. So moving to Mercedes now, I would say for George Russell, he definitely needs to beat Kimi Antonelli. Russell needs to. If Russell does not beat Kimi here, this is a big problem for George Russell, especially if Mercedes are going to sign Max Verstappen. So if they're going to sign Max, a partnership of Max and Kimi Antonelli right now is looking like potentially the best partnership in Formula 1. So I think it's a very important weekend for George Russell. He absolutely needs to beat Kimi. And for Kimi, less pressure on him. But if he wants to be in a position where he's going to win the World Championship and beat the more established driver, basically he's going to do what Oscar Piastri couldn't do last season. It's super important for him as well. So very important weekend for a lot of drivers here in Japan, because there is going to be a big break afterwards. So you don't want to be making silly mistakes in qualifying or the race. You want to be getting that experience in. You want to be kind of keeping touch with your teammate or beating your teammate. Going to be interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you for the race.